In the summer of 2010, a Democratic congressman named Bruce Braley was running for re-election in the great state of Iowa. Bruce Braley was a two-term congressman. He'd won his previous race by a whopping 29-point margin. But then, Congressman Braley started seeing ads like this one run in his home district in Iowa.
For centuries, Muslims built mosques where they won military victories. Now they want to build a mosque at Ground Zero, where Islamic terrorists killed 3,000 Americans. It's like the Japanese building at Pearl Harbor. The Muslim cleric building the mosque believes America was partly responsible for 9/11 and is raising millions overseas from secret donors. But incredibly, Bruce Braley supports building a mosque at Ground Zero. Tell Braley what you think.
Incredibly. Remember the Ground Zero mosque nonsense? Remember all that? The Ground Zero mosque nonsense controversy was a media sensation in the summer of 2010, even though the building in question was neither a mosque nor was it located at Ground Zero. But that summer, Democratic Congressman Braley, campaigning for re-election all the way out in Iowa, was being bombarded with TV ads like that on that entirely made-up issue, as if it was a real issue and as if he had anything to do with it, which he did not. It is the kind of thing a candidate might want to fight back against if he had any idea who it was who was fighting him that way. As you can see at the bottom of the screen there, the ads were being paid for by something called the American Future Fund. And this group, the American Future Fund, didn't just run the Ground Zero mosque ad against Bruce Braley. They ran all sorts of ads against him. TV ads, radio ads, robocalls, good old-fashioned mailers, everything. Millions of dollars in ads and attacks spent in his Iowa district against Bruce Braley by this group. Even though he had won his previous race by 29 points, Congressman Braley only narrowly survived this assault in 2010. He had won by 29 points before. In this same district, he barely squeaked by with 2% this time around. So who did that to Congressman Bruce Braley, and why? Who was bankrolling that huge effort against him? Who was putting up the money to run TV ads and radio ads and robocalls against him? Where did all that money come from? Largely, it came from here. A P.O. box located in the lonely Boulder Hills post office on the outer edge of Phoenix, Arizona. The American Future Fund, it turns out, which paid for that spending blitz against Congressman Bruce Braley, got a majority of its funding that year from a pretty much unknown pop-up organization called the Center to Protect Patient Rights. Have you already forgotten the name now that I just said it? Don't worry, you're supposed to. And don't bother trying to Google that name either. They do not have a website. In fact, they don't seem to have much of anything. When you try to figure out what this Center to Protect Patient Rights is, who they are, what their agenda is, pretty much all you can come up with is this. P.O. Box 72465, Phoenix, Arizona 85050. This grassrootsy-sounding group that's funding millions of dollars of campaign ads, not just in Iowa, but against Democrats around the country. It's actually just a tiny mailbox located inside of this desert post office in Phoenix. That's it. Where does a post office box get tens of millions of dollars to spend? The LA Times wrote about this P.O. Box invisible group, this Center to Protect Patient Rights, today. They wrote that lonely post office box managed to shell out $55 million to conservative groups across the country in 2010. $55 million! Funding ads like that one they aired against Democratic Congressman Bruce Braley in Iowa. Beyond that P.O. Box, though, nothing much is known about the group. They're supposedly run by a Phoenix-based Republican consultant who is a key operative in the Koch brothers' political activities. But in terms of where they got their $55 million to spend on that election, who knows? According to the Center for Responsive Politics, the donors to this P.O. Box in Phoenix, that's supposedly an organization, quote, are almost entirely unknown. Such tax-exempt organizations must detail the groups to whom they gave grants, but not the sources of their funds. So, ta-da. All voters get to know about whoever's trying to proverbially kill Congressman Bruce Braley with millions of dollars in false ads and mailers in Iowa is that they're housed here in Arizona at a nice little post office. Where's the money from? Who's going after him? Who do we blame for the ads being false? Talk to the P.O. Box, America. That's all you're getting. Thanks to the conservative majority on the United States Supreme Court, this is the American political system now. Unlimited and untraceable money. You are not a candidate running against some other candidate. You're a candidate running against a void that you cannot name. that you cannot fight back against because you can't name it, that you probably cannot keep up with dollar for dollar. It's not the age-old problem of running against somebody who's got deep pockets. That's an old problem. Our new problem is where you don't know how deep those pockets are you're running against. You don't even know whose pockets they are. If you like the way that that's already been working in these first couple of years after Citizens United, you're going to love how it plays out for the rest of this year. Today, Politico.com reports that groups on the Republican side plan to spend a billion dollars, that's billion with a B, to defeat President Obama this fall. And that is not including what the Romney campaign will spend.